of film and business. My name is Rosa Camero, film producer, film and marketing consultant, and CEO and founder of Ramiro AI. And today we have a great guest with us today, and he's going to share his experience about making a film, thinking about marketing, getting into film festivals, thinking about the business sides of film. And we welcome Juan. Thank you for being here and share this space with us. And I want to share a little bit about your trajectory because it's very vast. It's you've been in the industry for 42 years in the film industry. You have graduated from Boston University, and then you began your journey in the film industry, and you have worked in documentaries, commercials, feature films, music videos, and you haven't stopped. You've been a director, you've been producer, you have been assistant director and a script supervisor. But I want you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do, and from all these hats that you have wore during your filmmaking journey, which one you like the best?
Well, hi, my name is Juan Esteban Suárez. I'm from Puerto Rico. Yes, I went to, I studied economics, Boston University. And right after I graduated in 1982, I came to Puerto Rico, and I started working with a company that was doing mainly commercials, but they were training their personnel to do a feature film. At that time, Puerto Rico was making like one feature film every 4 years. So I decided to stay in Puerto Rico, not go to New York, which was my original plan. So I stayed in Puerto Rico. And so I worked for 2 years at Saga Films, making commercials. And then we did the first feature film, the one that I worked on. I was a video assist operator. The name of the film was La Gran Fiesta. So the producers, they brought in some filmmakers from Mexico, because Mexico has incredible, filmmaking tradition. So they brought in as an assistant director Luis Estrada, who's a really well-known, great director from Mexico. And at that time, he wasn't directing, maybe short films. But the other person they brought in was Alfonso Cuaron, who was the script supervisor in La Gran Fiesta and continuity. So since I was working as doing video assist, which was a new technology at that time, it was in black and white, but at least we could see the image and record it. So I had right next to me Alfonso Cuaron, and we became friends, and I became friends with Luis. And we would go to my apartment and watch movies. And to me, it was a great learning experience, because in the 2 years that I was working at Saga Films was mostly technical. Actually, I started working as a grip. I would do anything just to start working anything that had to do with filmmaking. So I was working as a video assist operator, recording everything, and watching films, as I mentioned, with Alfonso and Luis Estrada. And it catch my attention that mostly they were talking about film language. All they cared was film language, not the technical stuff, or maybe the technical stuff, the cranes, the dollies, the movements, all that, and how that supported the film language.
What is the film language? Now I'm curious. I haven't heard about the film language thing. So explain to us what is this?
Film language is what you're trying, all the elements that a director uses to tell the story, how he utilizes all these decisions that they make to convey an idea and give that message to the audience. Like, for example, if you have an actor moving from right to left of frame constantly, you want to manipulate the audience. There's something bothering them, because people read from left to right. So these are the decisions they make to convey an idea.
Very interesting. I didn't know this was like a
So
language
so
between
there's some
the
so
directors.
if for example is the director communicating his idea to an audience, and a lot has to do with the subconscious of the audience. If you want to create tension, if you want to create, there's something bothering the audience, they don't know what it is. So you know, like that's the way I interpret film language.
Oh, that's really interesting. Also the
And
music, I guess, and the color.
and the music, exactly, but mainly what they see on screen, that's, and the positioning of the actors and how they move, all that coordination, just to you know give give out an idea of what they're trying it's storytelling. It's storytelling visually.
Yeah.
So listening to that, to them talking about film language, it stuck with me for the rest of my career. Even though I didn't practice, because I became an assistant director later. I did, after learning from Alfonso about continuity, I did continuity in a film called Lo que le pasó a Santiago, which was nominated for an Academy Award in 1989, I believe. And I consider myself blessed because I had an interesting career and I've met really interesting people while working in Puerto Rico. So eventually, a lot of films started coming to Puerto Rico from Europe, from the United States, and I jumped. I did script supervising like in 4 films, and then I jumped to working as an assistant director, and I joined the Directors Guild of America, the DGA, and that opened another opportunity for me to work in high-profile films.
Yes. So tell us
With
which ones are these high-profile films that you have worked with.
not necessarily in this order, but I worked James Bond. I worked a movie called Runner Runner with Justin Timberlake and Ben Affleck. I worked Under Suspicion with Gene Hackman and Morgan Freeman. That one was very important to me because it somehow gave me confidence. It really boosted my confidence in what I was doing. You can check my IMDb and you can see all I've done, and it's been mostly nonstop. There was a period in the 90s where things were really slow, so I was invited to go to Mexico and work in Mexico doing also commercials, which I loved. My grandmother was Mexican. My great grandmother was Mexican. I never met them, but I have Mexico in my heart.
Who knows? Maybe your next project can be with Mexico, a
I hope
co-production.
I hope so. I hope so. So basically, my career has been mostly working as an assistant director, but going back, while I was working on La Gran Fiesta, after
With
that,
Alfonso Cuarón.
with Alfonso Cuarón, I also had, which was my real intention of going back to New York, going into to do my master's degree in screenwriting. My father was a journalist, and I used to write while I was in my teens. Unfortunately, I didn't save everything I was writing because I didn't like what I was writing. But now I'm thinking, I should have kept what I wrote because I did have things that were interesting. But anyway, so I wanted to go back to New York and study screenwriting. So I decided to buy books about screenwriting, and I wrote my first short film, which I never made it, but it was a great exercise. And then I decided to, after working in some different, after Lo que le pasó a Santiago, which I mentioned, it was nominated for an Academy Award, same year as Cinema Paradiso, which It's one of my favorite films. So I started writing what is now Un Día de Mayo.
Yes.
But it's okay.
So this goes to another question that I wanted to get there, because this is your first feature film. And I want to know what inspired Becoming Mayo, Un Día de Mayo, and what made you want to tell the story.
Okay. Let me go back and finish explaining how I got to Un Día de Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
While I was working as an assistant director, I was writing, and I did the outline for what is now Un Día de Mayo. It had another name, which I don't remember, the characters' names. Also, I have my dog here. So what I was writing, Un Día de Mayo, it started as a love story. Typical love story, boy meets girl or girl meets boy. They fall in love, they separate, they break apart, and then they, at the end, a happy ending, they get back together again. So I did the outline, but while I was writing, the main character, Mayo, started taking me into another area, another direction, and I decided not to fight with the character and see where he was taking me. That's when I understood what many writers say: let the character speak to you, that the character speak to you. I never understood what they were talking about until
What
it
they were
happened.
saying. Yeah.
What they were saying until it happened. So Maya was taking me into a dark area, nothing to do with romance. So I went to a friend who's a psychologist, and he told me you should explore post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, because Mayo was going into these trances that he thought it might be PTSD. So I went to the Veterans Hospital, and I interviewed a couple of psychiatrists, and I found it fascinating because there was so much drama, and so much drama in the sense that so much conflict, and conflict is drama. And I said, this could be interesting. The thing is, how do I mix? Because this is going to be another genre. How do I mix both? And that part was really complicated and difficult. And I was a beginning writer, and to me, it was like a new territory. And so anyway, I decided to go with it, and it took me going on and off because I was working and I had a family to support, so I had to work. It was very difficult for me to go into writing, but I proposed myself that every day I was gonna write at least one line, write one line, and one line, one
Consistency.
line, one line, and until I
Finding that
finish.
consistency
Exactly.
in everything you do, right? So in everything you do, you need to find the consistency. If not, doesn't
Exactly.
happen.
So at the beginning, it was like it's my subconscious working. It's like many writers, they call it the throwing up process, the vomiting process. Just throw it all down. And I was so happy I finished my film. But then to make sense out of it, that's where the conscious comes in. You're conscious of, and it's more how would I say, it's the real craftsmanship. And that was very, very difficult. But anyway, I ended up through the years, very interesting script. And still now I'm noticing that because I've shown the movie to different, people, at least everybody likes it. They say it's unusual. They really like the ending. It's unexpected.
Yes.
And that's how I know it's working. I felt really comfortable with it, um with the story and the movie, how it ended up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the inspiration, to answer your question, the inspiration I didn't have. The inspiration was really my desire to write something, whatever.
Okay.
And I decided just to go with the basic romance story, love story, that really turned into something uh, different. Because
Some
halfway through the movie, it takes you into another territory.
It's super interesting. I mean, it's not the typical romance that you can find. I mean, it has a twist. It has, like, I was very surprised when I watched the film and it wasn't even finished. And I was like surprised about the quality of the script and also the acting. I mean, the guys are really good at it. And it's engaging. I mean, it's something that okay, you like romance, but it's like the ending is like for me is mind blowing. I wasn't expecting that.
Yes, I wasn't expecting that either. That came through the process, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with the result. And I'm really happy with, which I was really scared with, um with the casting. I was worried about the casting.
Yeah, of course.
But
You
but
you
but
you
I
won the
but I
best
had
actors.
but I exactly, because that's where, it's not only having good actors, it's the chemistry that these two
Mm,
actors needed in
yeah.
order to bring the story to what it is now, which they really gave life to these characters, and they brought something that I was not expecting. Because one thing is you writing and you visualizing in a way, but when you see the actors performing what you wrote, and when they bring something that you did not expect, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I think my casting director, Patricia Alonso, did a great job. I am very insecure in terms of, well, with everything, but she said, trust me. I mean, I think what the people that you selected for the callback, the they're there.
Yeah.
So she suggested, why don't you bring out of your selection Anushka Medina and Paolo Shoni. Paolo, who comes from German descent, his last name is Shoni.
Mm,
He went to study acting in Paris, and then he went to Germany, which I thought it was interesting. He says, okay, let's bring him in. And then Anushka Medina, which when I saw her casting, because I gave them the most complicated scene. If they manage to get through this, interpret this scene, they can do anything in the film.
yeah.
They can do, you know. So Anushka, when I saw her casting, I cried.
She could communicate.
Very powerful. And I said, I think I have Luna. But again, so Patricia said, let's bring them together. So at the casting, at the callback, they didn't know each other. Paolo had been in Puerto Rico only a few years. He had not done theater. He did a lot of short films, maybe another feature, not as a principal actor,
Mm,
but he had some experience. Anushka does a lot of theater, and she had done like 2 films or 3 films previous to Un Día de Mayo, but only one as a principal.
okay.
Anyway, when I saw them together, they met at the callback. They went into a room. They were there, and I was like, "Let's see what happens here." They came out, and they did, and they did the scene, and the chemistry was so powerful. I already knew I had my couple. I knew, and I was more relaxed, and they did a wonderful job, because they were so into the story. They really wanted to do this film
Yeah.
that they got together, they did some exercises, they polished everything from beginning to end. All those meetings I found out later. I didn't know they were meeting. I know Anushka and Paolo also. I had meetings with him and he was asking me questions, but Anushka was so into it. She would call me late at night saying, Juan, this scene. And obviously talking about motivation because actors work that way, but they really want to understand, get into, uh, uh, I would say, the essence of the scene. And Anushka was there calling me at night, and that really made me happy. And she questioned me a lot. So as we went along, I gave them the freedom to, one thing is what you have on paper, your lines,
Yes.
and and to me the language. I'm not talking about film language. I'm talking, you know, our Puerto Rican language. Just like Mexico has its
Yeah.
own language, and each region, because maybe from Veracruz, they might have some words that they don't use at Mexico City, at the DF. So the same with Puerto Rico, which throughout because I started writing this story in 1989, right after Lo que le pasa a Santiago.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished my first draft in 1992. And I let it rest, and I came back. And throughout the um, the decades, from the 90s to the years 2000, to every time I came back, I would rewrite using the language that the young generations were using at that time, which is very
Yes.
different than now. You could see it actually in songs.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I was
hear
going to say that even the music is
you
completely
it's
different.
different. You hear Bad Bunny, the way he talks now is very different from, I don't know, some other, singer from Puerto Rico or from wherever, and
Yeah.
and so I gave them the freedom to express the way they feel they should be expressing. What I care was the essence of each scene.
Yeah. I think for actors that's a blessing because they can actually improvise and they can like inject a little bit of them into the character.
Yes, and then the way I work as a director, like they would ask me, "Hey, is it all right if I say it this way?" And I say, "Don't even ask.
Hmm.
Let's do a first take and do it. Let's just do it, and then
Yeah.
we build up from there.
So
Just
I want to know, now that you mentioned your role as a director, how was your role as a film producer? Because you also produce. So you had the two hats. So how was the production side?
I don't recommend directing and producing at the same time. Unfortunately, independent filmmakers, they have no other choice.
Mm, yeah,
Because
that's true.
if I want to tell my story, I'll do anything. And you start as once you have your story, you start as a producer, going out and getting the financing, just getting things moving. Because I had different producers at one time. The first time there was, it went through, like I would say, like through three stages in different decades. This
Okay,
film,
so it was going to be made before
it
and
was going to be made
then
before.
it stopped.
I had a producer from Spain. So I said, wow, we could do a co-production. So I changed the story to fix it, you know, to work with Spanish actors. Unfortunately, that didn't work. So then came another stage where I had to go back and put it, adjust it to the decade that we were on, which is now we're in the 2000s, the years 2000s. And I got a grant
Mm-hmm.
and I needed additional money. I was trying to get the financing and I got tax credits,
Yes.
which is great for investors. And well, it went through different stages. To make the story short, that also fell through because it took me time to get the rest of the financing, and I lost the grant,
Mm.
and I lost a lot of money, my money,
Yeah.
personal money. That was very painful. uh, so I started working in other projects. I put it on a shelf, and I said, I don't think I'm ever gonna make this movie because it, it in a way it was complicated. It was getting as time went on, it was getting more expensive. So I started writing other things. I took different uh, screenwriting labs
Mm-hmm.
for feature films and for series. So I started writing a series. I was very involved writing the series, and then the opportunity came with another grant. So I said, so let me stop what I'm doing. Let me go back to Mayo, to Un Día de Mayo. So I grabbed the script and I submitted the script to the grant. And then I had a meeting with, uh, it was a government grant. And I had a meeting with my producer. I had a producer. And so we sat there and I explained the movie. And, uh, and besides selling the movie, the idea, I was also selling myself
Hmm.
because I said, look at my background.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there. I know I make films for a living.
That's a really good way of seeing it. I mean, if you out there are listening to this, don't be afraid of selling yourself as a as a professional in the film industry, because in the end, they want to work with you, like you person, not the film. In the end.
And so and it worked. So I got the grant. I get great. So we started working. Then I lost my producer.
Mm.
And the thing is that, Puerto Rico, the amount of people working in the film business, the technicians, the producers, it's limited.
Mm.
And suddenly we have like at least 25 films out there, everybody running because there were 25 projects chosen to, that they applied and they got their grants. So I couldn't find a producer. But there was this friend who, she's my angel. She's been my mentor. She's the one who has hired me to work in all these high profile films. And and she said to me, I'm gonna help you because I see you're gonna run into a lot of trouble.
And she step in into the project.
Yeah.
Can you say
And
can you say her name?
she doesn't like, uh she didn't even want credit.
Yeah, you
That's
told
how
me.
how how humble she is, and how, but I gave her credit anyway. I'm gonna mention her name because she's there. Her name is Ellen Gordon. Just look at at her profile. Just go into IMDb and check Ellen Gordon. She's a wonderful human being, a wonderful human being, and I'm so grateful, so grateful. So anyway, I'm just gonna say it the way I feel it. She saved my ass, and she helped me out, and she was there. So in one way, I was not worried about getting the film done because she was there.
You
She was,
trusted.
yeah, she stepped in only for the production part because then I went on to post production.
Yes. So before we jump into post-production, I want I want you to tell us what was the lessons that you learned from this process of a very long process of financing your film. So what did you learn and what would you advise the people out there who's watching us?
Um, One thing is that you have to think of the marketing of the film before you start making your film. So that's something that has to somehow go into your development process.
Hmm, I agree.
Because when you think about development, yes, you film, you consider polishing the script, allocating your resources, financial, and uh, also the strategy of where are we going to be doing the scenes. There's a lot of logistics besides, you know, the financing part, but you have to think about marketing. So you have to think about are you going to use the the money that you have, like budget a photographer, professional photographer, which we did. And I decided to bring a friend of mine, Frank Elias, who's also a DP, and he has a wonderful eye. And I asked him, and he said, "Sure, I'll take the pictures." And he did a wonderful job. And we have so many good stuff, so much. And we decided to at least we can afford him for every day shooting day, but at least let's start with half, which eventually turned into an additional days. And he was involved with the movie, and he really wanted also to support me that he came a couple of days on his own. So I'm telling you, I've been blessed.
I think what you have mentioned, having a professional photographer, having all this content taken and taken care of, you as a director, you don't need to worry about that. And also that's something that is necessary from when you release your film. So now that you are like looking for the distributors, and when you release your film, it's like lots of content. You're already on social media, pictures, videos, and it's like just it's a machine that you need to feed.
It's- So not only the photographer, the thing is that I knew it was important, but I didn't know how important it was until now,
Mm,
until the
yeah.
movies until the movie's done. It's like there's a Chinese proverb by Confucius. You hear and you forget, you see and you remember,
Mm,
but when you do, you understand. So after the movie was done, that we finished editing, and so while the music was being composed and the sound effects were going into the film was in the process of doing the sound effects and stuff. I i went on to check all the material I have to start laying the ground for my marketing, which also includes you, which
yes.
was to me was very important because I don't know about marketing. And my producer had already finished her part, which was just getting your film in the can, like the expression of just getting it done.
Yeah.
Once that was done, geez, okay, I did my part. So while everybody was working, I was supervising. I went into not only seeing the pictures, but I went into uh, contacting you because I know nothing about film marketing.
This is where I
How
want to get into so we started working together. At that point, what were you looking for? Uh, what was the main reason that you wanted to hire someone like me?
because I wanted someone with experience and someone that would understand. Spanish-speaking films
Mm,
because my film is in Spanish. And we are, in Puerto Rico, we are a colony of the United States. We, and I'm not going to get into the political aspect of it, but we belong to the United States.
yeah.
And we are under heavy influence of the American cinema, American films, like the rest of the world bombarded by all these Hollywood movies and blah, blah, blah. And most of the distribution companies in the United States, which is the market we've been uh, focusing, uh, which is a mistake. I wanted to look south.
Mm,
I wanted to look to what's happening with Latin America and what's happening with Spain, because we share the same language.
yes. Something that
So
I found very interesting when we started working together is that Puerto Rico, you speak Spanish, but then you belong to the US. But it's a really tricky market, and in the end, it's very small because it's like you're not part of the US. You're kind of like an outsider. But then you have then it's all Latin America. But because you have been so you grew up with the idea that you are part of the US, so it's like okay, I'll focus in that market instead of South America, instead of other Spanish speaking countries. So I found a really interesting um, experience because then this is what we see how important the markets are and how also the influence of other markets.
the thing is that in that uh, strange relationship that is unique, we're the last colony in the world. We have been driven to consume American products,
Mm,
all the advertising uh, that that's been bombarded, which is, you know, uh, constantly we have been, our attention has been driven to the United States. And unfortunately, Puerto Ricans have fallen into that. It's like they have in Spanish we call them gringolas, what they put to the horses that you
mm,
can't see anywhere, just there north. But me and other filmmakers in Puerto Rico, we know you know, we have a market somewhere. And if we don't have a market somewhere, we're just gonna break in and try to get there. And um, so there's a Latino market
yes.
in the United States. And our films, every time they travel to the United States, they travel as an art film. And the other thing that really has us, it's very strange. Even the Academy Awards, we cannot compete as a foreign language film.
Yeah. I was very surprised when you told me that. So it needs to
We we
compete with
we so we've been forced to compete with Hollywood movies.
yeah,
That's where we're at. I
but
mean, they
in
don't they
other
don't
language.
they don't even understand, unfortunately. But we're
Mm,
gonna make them understand somehow. Somehow they're gonna understand who we really are, because we're not gringos. I mean,
yeah,
with all due respect
to them.
to them. So anyway, but what I've been observing is the following, and it's really amazing. How can an island or an archipelago, which is what we really are, we're 100 miles for 28 miles. How can we export the most amazing musicians and singers? Look at Bad Bunny.
That's true.
Right now, he's the guy. Before that, yes, we have Ricky Martin, which we still have. We have a guy like Luis Fonsi who did Despacito, which, by the way, I was an AD on that music video.
Oh, do you
I
hear?
was, yeah. But the thing is that, I mean, you're working on a music video like that, and like music videos, you constantly are playing and playing and playing the song, and you go home at night and you fall asleep and you're listening to the music, Despacito, and you have no idea of where that song is going. So anyway, going back to that, what should we filmmakers learn from our musicians?
That's a really good question. Like, how can
So,
you?
talking about marketing, I said, which is something I did years ago. I said, since our character is a photographer, and he's a painter, and he's into the arts, and he should be in the arts movement. So I wanted to show us Puerto Ricans as we are, starting with the language and the way we talk. Just be who we truly are. And part of that, besides the photography and the arts where he was, I wanted to integrate, and this is a marketing decision too, music. So that's where we have. I don't want to reveal much of what's in the film, but I think it worked great.
Yeah,
I
the
brought
music,
in
it's really good. You need to
so
watch the film. So ask
there are
around.
surprises. There are surprises there. So 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 I integrated that there. So what can we learn from
The music
urban
industry.
urban artists? Like the way reggaeton spread around the world since the early 2000s. There was no internet. I mean, there was something going on around, but nothing big.
Yeah.
But there were CDs. So these urban artists, they would record, have CDs, sell it out on the street, and then do performances. And they did a great job because the radio wouldn't play them, and there was no Spotify.
Yeah.
And but then it spread all over. They would travel to, say, New York, or they would travel to Panama, they would travel to Colombia, they would travel to the Dominican Republic, and again, Latin America.
Yeah, so
Latin America.
the question will be, how can we duplicate what they have done in the music industry? Like
Exactly.
with films. And I think it is possible. And I think when you think about marketing and mentioning marketing and having all these aspects, that's amazing. I mean, for me, that I've been working in the marketing distribution side, very recently I started producing. And that you're telling me that you are taking marketing insights into the film when you are actually filming, like making the film. That's amazing. I mean, if you learn the marketing and you have all these like little insights, and then you just put it in your film, because that means that it will work. That I think that's genius.
But then it occurred to me after the film was done that while we were doing the music, which I have a great composer and orchestrator. His name is Eduardo Reyes. And at the beginning, because he didn't read the script, he saw the movie. But then when we saw the movie and we started discussing it, I gave him a taste of what I originally wanted to do, the music I wanted to include, and a couple of things happened. He realized after he saw the movie with the samples that I was bringing. He said, this movie is different because from midpoint, it goes in another direction. So it's like orchestrating two movies because it's a mix of genres, and that really catch his attention, and that was really challenging for him. So he started composing something different that that I really liked, but it was different that what I proposed. He came with his own proposal, just like the actors, they come with their own. How about this? How about that? Uh, so he composed something at some point in the movie, right before midpoint. That was the transition to the rest of the story from one genre to another, which I really like. But then, to make the story short, I heard a singer which I like, but I wasn't that thrilled about it because um, I listen more to jazz. I listen more to maybe salsa. Uh, uh, but she came in with something that I say, hey, wait a minute, this is special. And the artist is right now.
Yes,
She
you have a
she
collaboration with her.
she 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 right now she's gonna be part of Bad Bunny's concerts. She was in Saturday Night Live in New York with Bad Bunny in the latest one. Um, and she's becoming huge. She was big in Puerto Rico when she came out with this song, which is totally different with what she was, you know. And I saw an interview with her, and she said this song to me is special, and and everybody was saying me, don't go there, don't do that song, and everybody she trusted her instincts. She came with that song, and I said, uh-huh. So I approached her, I believe it was her manager, and we came to a deal, and we have a song by Right Now which is spectacular, and it fits so well to the story that I'm telling you, I've been blessed. I've been so happy.
It's a film that has come to life by itself. You've been the orchestrator, so the director.
Yeah. So I was thinking also about marketing because I saw her potential. I didn't know she was going to be with Bad Bunny in Saturday Night Live. That came later, or that she was going to be part of the 30 concerts that is going to happen here in Puerto Rico, starting, I believe, at the end of this month, all the way through September. That's because Bad Bunny refused to take his concerts to the United States. Obviously, that's a political statement. That's But what is happening is that he says, "You want to see my concerts? You come here." So it's been a boost for the tourism company,
Yeah, for the country, it's gonna be a good
and
economical.
that's a lesson also to investors that um, the arts the arts make money.
Arts make money. Yes, that's a really
Arts
good
make money,
statement. That's a really good
and
statement. Yes, that's true. It's not,
that there's an opportunity for investors to invest not only in music, in my case,
it's films.
in films. So I think that that's the commercial side of this movie. I didn't want to lose the essence of the arts. I mean, we don't only mix genres. With that mixing of genres, we're mixing in a very, I think this word organic has been abused, but I'm going to use it now. In a very organic way, I'm mixing commercial with arts. It fits right in. Choosing Right Now, I hope it helps me. The first I chose that song because of the story. It fit perfectly.
Hmm.
But looking at it, because of what happened later with Right Now, I hope it makes a difference commercially. You
Yes.
know, so it's something for filmmakers to, don't feel bad, because I know you want to make art, but if you want to keep on doing, at least, you know, that's what I think. With all due respect to people who want to make art,
But you can make
uh,
art and you can include this marketing insights into the art,
Exactly.
like the way you did. I mean,
Exactly. But being, how would I say, not forcing it
mm,
in a way that, just for the sake of making money, I'm gonna put it as, and you ruin, just let it flow. Let's see, but keep your mind open for these opportunities. And mine, they showed up as I was going along, and so I've been blessed. Everything is out there.
yes.
Everything is out there. All you have to be keep an open mind and be conscious. Things will show up.
I love this mindset. I love this this way of thinking. So thinking that the resources are out there, you just need to be open to
And
receive them.
yes, and talking about mindset, uh, always bring people who are positive to work with you.
Yes, 100%.
Always bring people who are positive. If they are experienced, highly experienced, fantastic. If they're not highly experienced as some others, consider them. You
Hmm.
have to bring people with a positive attitude, and all negative thoughts, block them. You block them. And very interesting, there's which we're gonna be posting soon, an actors on actors, between a conversation between uh, Anushka and Paolo, which are our principal cast. Uh, a very honest conversation um, that I recorded, and we're gonna be using it. They talk to each other, and what was your first impression when you read the script, and what made you, take the make the decision, like, I really want to do this. I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And what they said was, first, in the case of Paolo, I really like the script. I really like the character, and I really want to do this. And he went to the callback the same day he met Anushka. He went to the callback, so sure. He convinced himself that um, this role is mine. This movie is mine. I'm gonna make this movie mine. He already knew it was his. And the same with Anushka.
Hmm.
Anushka read the script. She said, I went to my balcony. I started reading. I started reading. I started reading. And then same thing. Like many people say, oh wow, this is going to another direction. There's nothing that I expected. She loved the ending, but she called the agent. Uh, um, I'm sorry, the casting director, and she says, I really want to do this. I
They
really
were
want to do it.
convinced. They love the story. I
They
think
went
everyone that
and
is involved, everyone is involved in the story. I think somehow we love it. I mean, we really like it. I think it's something that needs to be out there. The thing with independent films is that you find so really good films that we need to find a way for these films to get to get to the people because it's so
yeah,
good.
and very important that we jumped this part. We skipped this part, and I have to get into it. I I know my limitations. At least I try to, in that moments where I sit down and ask myself, who am I
Hmm.
at this moment, present moment, not the past, not the future, right now. And I I try to see my limitations, see where I'm at. And I know nothing about marketing. I have an insight. I think, oh, this might work, which, like I explained with the music, let's put music in here. Uh, so I I said, I need help. So I started going to the internet. I started reading about marketing, just in case I had to go ahead with myself and, do it, you know, do it yourself. And I jumped into a YouTube. interview with you. Some guy from, I believe he was from England.
The honest filmmaker. Jim, we send you a a big hug.
So, so when I saw that interview, I said it's great because she seems to know her subject, and I it's different from looking like to the United States, and she has a broader view of marketing and distribution worldwide. And also it had to do with your charisma and your personality. And I said, I'm going to uh, approach Rosa. And I did. And here we are.
Yes, we've been working together for the last
And
almost
here
a
we are.
year. Almost a year. We've been working together in the marketing and distribution. Um, and you tell me what has been your experience working the last year with
Well,
me in the process and
yeah, we are still in the process. It's been fantastic. We went to Ventana Sur. Very interesting what uh, people from agents from Europe
mm,
want, what agents from even Spain, speaking Spanish speaking countries, uh, agents from the United States, distributors also, not only agents, and and they all have a different approach.
yes.
The one that really shocked me was someone who said, "Don't lock the film." For those who don't know what locking the film is, when you finish editing your movie and you say, "Okay, this is it, let's lock it." And then when you lock it, you cannot make any changes because here comes the sound editing of the movie. Here comes the composer composing to what what you edited. And also here comes the subtitles. And there's a lot of elements that if you change something, you have to change everything, and it's costly. So that is called locking the film. So interesting that while we were in Ventana Sur this past year was in Uruguay. Apparently, they're going back to Argentina in 2025. But an agent distributor said, "Don't lock the film because we would like our input there for marketing reasons.
Mm,
If we want to change something, if we want to change, oh no, that's not the music, or if we whatever changes they believe for marketing purposes." And to me, that's strange. Well,
it happens.
it I it did surprise me in a way, but I didn't like it because it's and many filmmakers don't like it because it's their piece.
They're messing with something that it's already done. Uh, I mean, it shouldn't be like that. I know the distributors can, especially distributors, I think they want to feel they have the power to do these changes because marketing, because the market,
I
and because they think the filmmaker knows less than the actual distributor. But
I mean, I understand them wanting to sell the movie, but to me, that's a very Hollywood approach. It's a
hmm,
Hollywood approach. Well, they want to have control. What they care is about selling the movie, which in a way, I understand. But if it's gonna change the spirit of what I'm trying to to say, or if if it's gonna project us in a way, making the world see Puerto Rico in a very unrealistic way, not the way we are,
hmm,
which
yeah,
is to me is very important. This is who we are. This is how we speak.
yeah,
This is how we this is our music. This is our the locations. This is where we live,
Definitely. I
you
think
know,
something
and this is our
important.
culture. And this is our culture. This is truly our culture, not
Yeah,
as Hollywood has projected us.
yeah.
And like I say, with all due respect, we are not West Side Story Puerto Ricans, because our brothers and sisters, which we love in the United States, they have been, how I say, they live under other circumstances.
Mm,
And they are as they are because they have been discriminated. They have suffered a lot, and they have grown and in a totally different conditions. Here in Puerto Rico, we are in Puerto Rico, and this is who we are, which is there is a difference. We've been discriminated, and we're still being discriminated, but we are not have been discriminated and suffer the conditions that the Puerto Ricans in the United States, like other Latinos, have.
mm.
And there are brothers, and I was born in New York. My father's from New York. He was of Spanish descent, but I'm very clear with that. So this is who we are. This is what I want to portray, who we truly are, and it's there in the film, and you're gonna experience it. That's what I want the world to experience, who we truly are.
I think you mentioned something super important here. That when they want to change the essence of a story, such as this one or any other, like that's when the filmmaker needs to remember that is your film. Like you take the decisions. You don't sign a contract with someone that it's already changing your film. So you find someone else or you find another way to put it in front of the audience. But don't make yourself feel little or you feel that you have less experience and you have only one option to make that film seen. So I think this is a really good reminder of you have the power because it's your film in the end.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't listen.
I definitely. Yeah, yeah. You can
You
follow
have to give
advice.
them you have to give them the opportunity to see what didn't happen
What they can bring to the
with
table.
me, but let's see what they bring to the table and what their vision is, and who knows, maybe they're right about something.
Yeah. You
But
need set expectations until what
yeah,
point you want to change the film or whatever. And if you agree, okay. So it's like everything is a negotiation, it's a conversation. We need to wrap up the episode, but I want you to, in this final question, what is a piece of advice that you will give to filmmakers try to bring their first feature film to life?
uh, resilience is the key. Just keep pushing. Maybe give your it's not the right moment. Maybe it's time to let that project rest, jump into another. Take choose your friends, choose um the people that you want around you,
Super important.
that are that are that are positive, that would inspire you, um and have a positive attitude in life. Not only, that will affect your, be positive with life, even though we're right now in very dark, uh I would call it a season. I mean, a very dark season. I'm still optimistic.
Yes. Good
uh
things are happening.
so and just to go for it, and do the best you can. I suggest get the best producer you can get, because the best director depends on the best producer you can get. Someone that truly supports you. Get a photographer. Get a
Yes.
photographer, someone to take pictures. I didn't have anyone for video. So I brought in a student who recorded with their iPhone. I have 4 behind the scenes, some interviews which I did, learn editing. I had a post house for 10 years, and that really helped me a lot. Post production house for 10 years. I have my editing room in my house,
A real
but
filmmaker. A real
with that, I edited the trailer, have it, show it, and Rosa, you were a big part of that, because I would be consulting with you, showing you the trailer. This doesn't work, this one, oh, now you nailed it. You have to experiment.
yes.
Experiment.
Yes.
And
That's the way it is.
until you find, but what I'm saying with this is don't give up. Just don't give up.
Thank you so much for being here, Juan. It was a lovely conversation we had today and so insightful. So from script and the many years that they actually took to make the film, now it's out. It's looking for distributors, looking for a good solid deal that can take that film to its final audience. So I have
Thank
seen it. I love the story. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I work with you as well. And it deserves to be seen.
thank you for having me. It's been fantastic collaborating with you, and it's not over yet.
No, we keep
So
going.
let's see where this takes us. So
So thank you so much.
yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.